So, good day everyone. We are Ignatian Circle 3 and we will be presenting to you our group's insights on ingenuity, which is one of the four pillars of heroic leadership. So, before anything else, I'd like you all to ask yourselves, how do you define leadership? We all might have different perspectives on leadership, but it's important that we can distinguish the difference between being a leader and being a boss. So to guide us in our views on leadership, Chris Lowney provided an interesting take on the subject in his book Heroic Leadership, where he describes the four pillars of the Jesuit leader principles. These are self-awareness, ingenuity, love, and heroism. But for now, we will only be discussing about ingenuity. So, what is ingenuity? And how did we, as a group, interpret this? Well, it is basically confidently innovating and adapting to embrace a changing world. Because the truth is, change is inevitable, and our world is constantly changing. We need to take note that we are all leaders in our own way, and it is up to us as leaders to be able to adapt to this change and make others comfortable with it. We need to listen and be open to new ideas and changes. However, according to Lowney, we need to note that the discomfort with change is always going to be there. We might say that we might like change, but we people usually like to do things the way we are used to doing them. But what we can do, however, is to make people be comfortable with it. Like, make people comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable and get used to dealing with the fact that this is just how reality is. So to further discuss our thoughts on ingenuity, Karl will be explaining its vital ingredients and deepen our understanding on ingenuity.
In order to truly fulfill ingenuity, being indifferent is needed, because indifference means detaching yourself from everything else which doesn't help you from achieving your greater goal. This means giving you freedom to be able to brave the wilderness, unlock new opportunities and ideas. A true leader needs new variations on how to tackle various problems. A good leader is someone who thinks outside the box, someone who is unique and a calculated risk taker. This can be done with the help of being indifferent. Second is a profound trust and optimism that the world presents plenty of opportunities to pursue. Why? Because being ingenuine is difficult if you don't have the proper mindset to believe in what you do and in yourself. Being a leader requires an adaptable mindset, and a leader must be confident and firm on his decision in a constantly changing world. So let's proceed to Angela to further the discussion.
So last year, the COVID-19 virus happened and it made the people's lives change in an instant. The people were forced to let go of their normal lives and adapt to the new normal. A lot of people struggled in adapting the changes, but as months passed by, they slowly accepted the reality that the pandemic will last longer than expected, and they were slowly adapting to the new normal. Our government leaders' way in adapting the new normal was to implement policies and safety controls such as social distancing, community quarantine, and wearing of masks and face shields. Our educators' way in adapting to these changes was to have an online learning for the students so that they can still teach and that students can still learn in their own homes and continue their dreams despite the pandemic. Employers and employees were able to adapt by working from home. Scientists and health workers were able to adapt by studying the virus, making vaccines, and other medical equipment to be used in order to cure the infected people. People took advantage of the advances in technology in order to survive in these trying times. In the beginning, most of us struggled to adjust and adapt, but we were able to make it gradually. Up until now, we are still adapting to these changes, and we made it this far. In conclusion, we wouldn't be able to survive this far if it weren't for ourselves, who tried hard to adjust, and for the people who were innovative enough to think of ways on how to adapt to these changes. And now Kisha will discuss about how we can manifest ingenuity in our lives.
As mentioned from the definition earlier, Ingenity's main idea is that the world is changing fast and it keeps on changing. In order to keep up with these rapid changes, we, as leaders, should have the ability within ourselves to adapt in a changing world. Sometimes, when we were put in a situation wherein our decisions would make a very big change in our lives, we're mostly afraid to let go of the things that we are really attached to, like the status, money, and other material things. These things will then hinder us from achieving our main goal. Making a very big choice or any change will really expose a person's attachment, and when something new is set on the table, someone will resist it because he's afraid that he's not going to be able to learn the new way. And so he is stuck, so attached to his own fears that it holds him back from being able to change, take the necessary level of risk. So, how do we become more ingenious, better risk takers? In order for us to be an effective individual and effective leader, we must learn how to step out of our comfort zones. If we're used to be the one who always lead others, then we must learn to let someone guide us. If something new is being suggested, we must learn to listen and take the necessary steps and risk because the world is changing. Nothing stays the same. Every day, someone wants something new, or our clients are demanding for new services, and for us to meet their needs, we should adapt, change something that we're used to of having. Because stepping out of our comfort zone and trying new things is the best way to grow and is the best way to keep up with this ever-changing world. And now, Arif will give a summary of the whole discussion.
And that brings us to the conclusion. Let me summarize what we have discussed for the past few minutes. Today, we discussed one of the principles of Krisha, which is ingenuity. Earlier, my group mates discussed that our world is always changing and that we have to adapt to the discomfort that comes with it. Indifference is also a key aspect in ingenuity. We have to detach ourselves to everything that prevents us from adapting to the changes in our world. We also have to trust and be optimistic in the opportunities that our world presents us. There were also concrete life examples given, one of which is the pandemic. A lot of things have changed since the pandemic. It changed the lives of all people, from the government officials to the educators, the health workers, scientists, and students. Another example is stepping outside of our comfort zone. Taking up suggestions and doing the necessary risk will help us in stepping out of our comfort zone. It helps us to be more effective in leading. In this world, there will always be a change. Doing things that we don't usually do will help us grow as a person and a leader. We think that ingenuity is a great principle to own. It's because when you're able to adapt into the changes that happens into the world, you would be able to lead them into any situation that you're in. When a people don't when a person don't have the will to adapt, they tend to suffer in the long run. Resisting to the changes that happens can lead you into frustration. At the cost of your esteemed pride and stubbornness, the end result is a great deal of heartache. That's all. Thank you.
So to end this presentation, here is a quote by Max Dupree for you to reflect on. We cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.